Hey guys, MaxManRC coming at ya. Today we're gonna be doing a little project. As we all know, we do like to run our cars out and about, basically anytime we can. And even if that time means that it's raining, or we'll even take the cars and we'll throw them out, and we'll just go through a mud puddle, go through a water puddle, or if we have crawlers or trail cars, we'll just go through creeks or rivers or whatever have you. And as we know, most of these rigs are actually pretty decently waterproof. I want to say they're mostly water resistant, but the electronics in these rigs are actually pretty waterproof. And I mean, there's absolutely no problem with putting these things through water. And actually, fun fact, when it comes to brush motors, one of the ways to break in a brush motor is actually called a water break-in, where you'll take the brush motor, dip it in a cup of water, run it, take it back out. And I don't recall how to do that very properly. I haven't done that in a while, but I digress. And yeah, let's not get into that at this point. Let's go back. So basically, as we know, the ESCs, the servos, the motors, brushed or brushless, it doesn't matter, they're pretty decently water resistant. We're able to take our rigs and submerge them in water to a certain degree, and they'll still work. The only thing that tends to fail on these things is the receiver, and that's actually what we're going to work on right now. So a few days ago, me and my buddy, we were out and about, and we're running the crawlers, and we were on a stream, and we were just dunking these things in the water. I'll post up some pictures up on the socials. Actually, they're already posted. But we were dunking these things down in the water, and my Red Cat Gen 8 V2, it was doing great, not an issue whatsoever, until water got into the receiver. So from here on out, what we're gonna do is, this is actually a brand new receiver that I've went ahead and I ordered, and it's gonna replace the one that got wet. So what we're gonna do is, actually, we're gonna take this receiver and we're gonna coat it with conformal coating, acrylic conformal coating. Basically, this is gonna make that this guy becomes waterproof. I've used conformal coating in different vehicles. I can't recall which ones they are. I know I've used conformal coating on the boat receivers for obvious reasons. And looking back, yeah, I can't recall which ones have the coating on them anymore. But I do believe one of them is actually the 5th scale receiver that's actually conformal coated. And so now we're gonna make sure that the Red Cat gets some coating on that receiver, so we can try and make this work a little bit better for next time that we go out. So first things first, what we're gonna go on ahead and do, we're gonna break this guy open. The case, we have to be very careful because these cases are very, very fragile. It is very simple to open them, but they are very fragile. So what we're going to do is, depending on what case you have on what receiver, it could be this, it could be a Traxxas, it could be Arma, it could be whatever, what have you. Just figure out a way to open it. This is not going to be a tutorial how to open these guys, because this is pretty much self-explanatory. It's just snapped on. So we're going to skip that, and we'll come back when the receiver is wide open. Let's start it. And we're back. So we went ahead and took apart the receiver. It did take me about 5 minutes because I wanted to be gentle. So we got, and I'll show you why in a second. We got the front cover of the receiver. We have the rear cover. And that's one of the times that we want to be gentle with it. We don't want to bend or damage anything. There you go. And we have the rear cover. Now the reason I wanted to be very, very gentle is because of these little tabs right here. We do not want to snap these tabs, otherwise it's going to be very difficult to put this receiver back. Granted, you could always use glue, but still, same goes for the tabs that are inside the front of the case. I know they're very difficult to see, and I apologize, but we got one tab right here, one here, 3 and 4. Again, this just applies to the Radio Link and I believe Dumbo RC receivers. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna grab the actual case. We're not gonna snap it, obviously. We're just gonna put it to the side, because we're gonna be working with the actual receiver board. Now if you guys have never seen the receiver board, that's basically it. That's all it is. You got your little pin connectors there for your servos, for your ESC. If you're using this on a nitro or any gasser, one of these connectors is actually for the battery, which I believe it can be any of them. When it comes to these guys, yes, when it comes to Dumbo RC, and actually I shouldn't say Dumbo RC because I'm not exactly sure how they would work, but when it comes to Radio Link, any of these guys would work for the batteries. So we have channel 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you know, the usual. So what are we gonna do? What we're gonna do is we're actually gonna go ahead and we're gonna code everything that we see here. We're gonna be very gentle when we do this, and we're gonna be using a pair of tweezers so that we can hold it so we don't get conformal coating on our fingers. It really doesn't affect us as much, but still, we don't want to get our fingers really dirty or anything like that. You want to coat every little piece of this thing. 5/16/2023, this one's recently new. So we're gonna go on ahead and we're gonna take off the little QC sticker on here. We're not gonna be needing this anymore, obviously. We're gonna coat everything on this receiver. Now, one more thing I want to point out: if you have never worked with computers, make sure you discharge your electricity. In other words, touch a piece of metal, because if you go on ahead and you touch this and you shock it, this whole thing's gonna burn out. It's not gonna be good anymore. So basically, we're gonna coat everything that we see here when it comes to the receiver, every little piece. We're gonna be very careful when it comes to the button itself. And the one part that we do not want to coat is the actual metal pins. These guys we do not want to coat at all, otherwise we're not going to be able to actually transmit everything that we need. So what are we going to go ahead and use? Well, obviously we're going to use the receiver because that's what's going to be coated. We're going to bring in, I actually went ahead and I grabbed the tweezers. These are very, very pointy tweezers. And no, there's no need to be pointy tweezers, just as long as they're tweezers. Screwdriver, I used it to pop it open. And of course, the conformal coating. It's MG Chemicals makes wonderful conformal coating. I've used this company for a couple of years now when it comes to the RCs. I want to say maybe 3 years. But I've used conformal coating when I used to actually build computers back in my high school / college days, and conformal coating always came in handy. Why did I use conformal coating in computers? Because why not? So basically, besides that, we're also going to need a little brush. This one I do believe is horsehair, or honestly it doesn't matter what kind of brush it is, as long as you don't leave any residue of the brush on here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go on ahead, we're going to put the tweezers to the side for now. Shake the conformal coating real nicely. Okay, now make sure when you're working with conformal coating, make sure you actually have a lot of air going through, a lot of ventilation, because these conformal coatings, it smells like, yes, I do take a scent from it. I took a whiff from it. It smells, if you're married or have a girlfriend, it smells like your girlfriend's nail polish. So what we're gonna do now, and this is gonna be a little tricky for me because I don't want to push the camera, so we're gonna grab it by the antenna very, very gently. And the first thing we're gonna do is very gently, this resistor, we're gonna bring it up, bend it up very, very, very gently, just enough to be able to get in there. The brush is dry now. Just want to make sure, a quick test. Yep, that'll work. So once that it's done, we're gonna want to close this up a little bit. We're gonna go ahead, bend this down again, but very gently. We do not want to snap it, or else we're gonna have to resolder everything. So we're gonna go on ahead. Let me grab a little tray here just in case I need it. So I'm gonna go on ahead. We're gonna dip the brush in. If you guys haven't figured it out by now, this might be a little bit of a boring video. We're gonna go on ahead and we're gonna do the top first, because the top we can actually have it sit down as like so that we can actually let everything dry properly. Like I said, we don't want to actually coat the pins. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get started with the top. Gonna take a good amount of coating on here, and let me see if I can bring you guys a little closer so you can actually see what I'm doing here. Okay, so then bring a little more light. Now we're gonna be losing a lot of focus like that. We're just gonna go like that. Yeah, so we're gonna go on ahead. We're just gonna grab this guy and we're just gonna coat everything on here. Like I said, you can use tweezers if you want to. I prefer not to because I feel like I get more control over it without the tweezers. So you can see I'm also trying not to hit the actual pins, because like I said, those pins, you want to make sure that they're actually free of any kind of coating, otherwise they're not gonna make a complete connection. Be liberal with the coating. You can definitely be a little bit liberal with the coating, so you can actually, yeah, there you go, that's nice, good. You can kind of see a little bit how it is. Now this receiver in general does have a little bind button on the side. You can definitely, you know, that's going to be one of the weaknesses of this receiver, because we can't really hit that bind button. But honestly, it would be better than anything. And again, I'm really sorry about the focus. So y'all gonna have to just deal with me for a bit here. Go through this side. You want to get as much of the receiver as possible. There you go. Now you can actually use UV light, because conformal coating would glow under UV light, to see if you missed a spot or anything like that. Honestly, the price of receivers isn't really that high enough for me to actually worry about using a UV light to see if I missed a spot or not. That's one of the reasons why I use Radiolink a lot. These Radiolink receivers are about 20 bucks a pop, but I just don't like having to deal with having to take apart the receiver and the receiver box in order for this to actually, you know, every time anything receiver goes, I just don't feel like opening up the receiver box. And yeah, see, that's what I mean, that you don't want to leave little hairs on here. Okay, now that that's pretty much done, we're gonna go on ahead, we're gonna take our tweezers and we're just gonna grab these hairs, see if we can pull them out. Okay, there you go. I have a feeling that's all I'm going to be using these tweezers for. Now, as you can see from the back, nothing, not really shiny as much. But once we go to where we hit it with conformal coating, you can actually see the shine, the sheen to the actual coating. Again, you know, you can be liberal with this coating. You just remember, the other thing is, conformal coating will add a little bit of a top layer to your to whatever you're using it on, albeit the receiver or a computer piece. So you gotta make sure that it's still gonna fit inside the receiver box. I'm sorry, inside the actual receiver case. Although, truth be told, at this point, you can always just use what would be a good thing to use in case it doesn't fit in the receiver box. You could always go on ahead and use shrink wrap, because that's actually how some of the models come with. It's just the actual shrink wrap. So we're gonna let this sit for a few minutes, and we're gonna come back and do the back on this guy. All right. Okay, and we are back yet again. I feel like it's actually it's dry enough to be able to flip it. So what we're gonna do, we're actually gonna go ahead and flip it, just like so. And what I like about it is that it's actually gonna be able to stand as it is for now. So once again, we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna grab the conformal coating. Wrong way. Okay, we're gonna grab the conformal coating and we're gonna shake it up real nice. Okay. Ugh, damn child-proof stuff. Okay, that was more work than it should have been. But you don't want to leave the conformal coating open because it will dry out, and we don't want to do that. Not that it's expensive or anything, but we just don't want to deal with dry out conformal coating. Okie dokie. So now we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna grab the brush once more, and this time we're gonna hit the rear of it. So I'm trying to zoom in as much as I can for you guys, but I'm not sure how well the distortion will work. So we're gonna go ahead and gonna grab a good glob, and we're just gonna brush it on. This is literally all that is needed to be able to protect your electronics and pretty much make them truly waterproof. Unless there's an open space where the conformal coating didn't set properly. This ESC, I should in theory be able to dunk it in completely, and I should have no issues with it with water from here on forth. So we're gonna finish this back piece off real quick here. One of the other things that I did use conformal coating for as well was actually, if you guys have been following me for a bit, it's a ripsaw tank, and I believe I did a video on that, but I don't recall. But yeah, since I used a ripsaw tank in the snow and I didn't want to deal with replacing the built-in ESC and all that stuff, the 2-in-1, I went ahead and actually conformal coated the 2-in-1, or the board itself, because just like everything, it's an ESC and it's the receiver. It's actually a pretty decent one too. It's made by, I believe it's called Lansu, and they're actually the Lansu brand is actually, I've heard of it before with other hobby grade vehicles. But so yeah, there we go. Close off the conformal coating for the time being, and as you can tell now, look at how nice and shiny that is. That's what we want. Look at that. Yes. So we're gonna let this dry out for a few minutes, and what we're gonna do once it's dried out, we're gonna go on ahead and flip it over once more, and we're gonna actually, once it's fully dried, I'm gonna put it right back onto its case, because that should be more than enough conformal coating for it. We're gonna go on ahead, put it back in the rear of the case, and then we'll hit the front once more just to be safe. But we want to make sure that the rear is okay, due to the fact that and depending on how you set your receiver, with me, when it comes to the Red Cat, the receiver is actually set like this, so any water that'll come in, it'll actually go through here, and we don't really want that. So we're gonna go ahead and let this dry out, and we'll be back in a few. Alright, and once more we are back. The conformal coating on the rear, it should be dry enough. What I'm gonna do, actually, I'm gonna put a little conformal coating on the actual back cover, and we're gonna, now this you don't have to do, definitely not, but I'm doing it just because I can. So basically we're just gonna grab our little brush once again. Just gonna add a tiny, well, not tiny, we're just gonna add some dabs on here of conformal coating. This will let our receiver sit on a nice little bed of conformal coating, which in theory, I'm hoping will help it a little bit more, especially in the rear, because if any water gets in, that's where the water's gonna pool. So we're gonna go on ahead now, we're gonna grab the actual receiver board, and we're gonna pop it back in. like I said, now it's giving me a little bit of issue, for a lack of a better term, to set the receiver back on there. Not because of the rear conformal coating, but it's mainly because now it just gave it like a millimeter more of yeah. And in the end, honestly, it really doesn't matter at this point. The conformal coating will take care of everything. Yeah, all right, that ought to do it. Now I know I got my finger, my big old thumb, all over there, and I ruined that conformal coating. So we're gonna go on ahead and we're gonna hit that once more. We did need to hit the. My mind is not working with me today, guys. I am sorry. Yeah, I'm just gonna stop talking. I'm just gonna do the work here. Okay, now that's sitting nice as it should, sitting nice and proper. I'm a little bit of a perfectionist, so there it is. Now it just sat as it should. Yeah. Now we're good here. Okay, so now we're gonna go on ahead. I'm gonna dab a little bit more conformal where I had my big old thumb on, and we're also gonna cover this little fella up. Capacitor, that's what it's called. We're gonna cover the capacitor as well, just a little bit, mainly just the pins on the capacitor, and just a tiny bit on the cap itself. Now, as always, guys, if you don't like the way I do something, or if you don't agree with something, you know what, you're more than welcome to do it your own way. My way is not the only way to do something, and I'm well aware of that. And so yeah, it's however you feel comfortable doing it. Now that that's taken care of, we're gonna grab our tweezers once again, and we're gonna push the capacitor in gently. Okay. I know it's very hard I don't know why the phone is having a hard time focusing, but the point is you can actually see, look at that, how juicy that is. That's what we want. So I'm just gonna, just for my own peace of mind, I'm just gonna go on ahead and just gonna hit the pins of the cap once more. There you go. Okay. That should be more than enough. And now we can go on ahead and grab the top of the receiver. And since everything's still wet, we want to be a little bit gentle. Okay. So we're gonna grab the top of the receiver, and now right here you can actually see where the antenna is gonna go through. So we're gonna run the antenna through the hole. There you go. Whee! It's like a roller coaster ride. Okay. And now we're just gonna go ahead, line everything up, and snap, snap, snap. There you go. Everything snapped together, and the receiver has been coated as it should. Now we'll just let it dry before we actually throw it, before we actually run it. I'm gonna go on ahead and let it dry for about 24 hours. Okay, so now that it's all finished, everything snapped back together. Just give it a couple more snaps just to be safe. And usually, according to the conformal coating, it does say, actually it doesn't say. It just says to check the safety data sheet. I'm sorry. Just let it sit for about 24 hours, just to let that coating completely dry up and be nice. But I mean, let me go on ahead and grab my screwdriver and just make sure, because like I said, it does have the little bind button right here. Perfect. Still clicks. There's no issues with the bind button. That's it. That's all you have to do when it comes to conformal coating. This receiver should be good to go now for water. I am pretty certain that I can actually dunk this bad boy into the bathtub and pull it back out, and it's gonna work as it should. I'm not gonna have to worry about it dying out on me like the last one did. So if you have any kind of RC that you know is gonna be specific for the water, or you know you're gonna be dunking it, I would highly suggest getting some conformal coating. I believe it's under $30, and all you really have to do is just brush it on there. The coating itself includes the brush itself, the coating itself, and that little jar. I've had it for about, I want to say 2 years at this point, and it has coated, like I mentioned, it's actually gone ahead and coated, I'm sorry, it's dirty, but it has actually coated the ripsaw. The interior on this guy, the 2-in-1 ESC, has been conformal coated. It has also coated a couple of the rigs that I have in the back. I believe the Green Typhon has a coated receiver. I know my Senton also has a coated receiver. I haven't done it on the Summit, but I don't think I'm gonna do it because I really don't take that thing into the water. But the white Summit that I have at the bottom, I know you can't see it. There you can kind of see it. That white Summit, I think if I end up keeping it, because it might be going up for sale soon, if I end up keeping it, I might actually coat the receiver as well, because that thing does go through water. And just looking through everything else, I do believe there was a couple more. I just don't recall. They actually might be in my storage unit, the ones that are actually coated as well. So long story short, guys, that's the easiest way to waterproof any electronic. It could be a receiver, it could be, you can do this to the ESCs, you can do this basically to any board that you might have. It could be a computer, it could be Raspberry Pi, it doesn't matter. Conformal coated and it'll be waterproof. Alright guys, well, this was Maxman RC. I hope you guys learned something, and I hope you enjoyed the video. I know it's a little bit of a boring video, but you know what? We can't always have fun, and we can't always have bashing videos. Sometimes we also have to roll up our sleeves and get to work. Maxman RC.